Welcome everybody to today's webcast. It's called The Top 10 Ways Leading Firms Are Transforming Client Engagement. As Claire mentioned, my name's Andy Yeomans and I'll be your presenter here today. Today we're going to talk about some of the ways that today's more forward-thinking and technology-driven firms are transforming how they market their services and win new work and engage with their clients in a differentiated way. So that'll be the main thrust of today's presentation. But first off, just a real quick introduction here. As I mentioned, my name's Andy Yeomans, and I'm with a company called sa.global. That's a global consulting firm specializing in helping AEC firms and other professional services organizations drive digital transformation throughout their business. I've been at this for over 20 years now, the last 10 years specialized in the AEC industry, and in that time I've engaged with dozens and dozens of firms to help them bring transformative change to their business. And the tools that we use as an organization to help drive this transformation aren't so important as really the concept of how we want to transform these client engagement strategies in today's session. But for reference, we do leverage the Microsoft Cloud and Dynamics 365 and other emerging technologies to help drive this transformation within our clients. So you can see my email address here on the screen if you'd like to reach out for more information at any point. So let's go ahead and take a look at our agenda for today's session. We're going to start off by talking a little bit about how clients and owners are reshaping the AEC industry in terms of how they've been driving, changes to traditional contracting structures and project delivery requirements, which has really forced firms to kind of reevaluate how they go to market. And we'll follow that up by looking at some of the emerging technologies that are impacting how firms engage with their clients. We call these digital disruptors, which really hold the potential to change how firms engage with clients and deliver services. And then we'll get into a list of 10 ways that, again, forward-thinking firms are leveraging these disruptive technologies to be different and unique in order to win more work, drive new revenue streams, and really to drive some of these concepts home. We'll actually look at some case studies of how some real-world firms are successfully transforming their go-to-market strategies and client engagement strategies. And we'll even show some demonstrations of some software tools that can help try to make some of this a reality for you as we go through here. So as time permits at the end, we'll leave some time for question and answer session, and feel free to put those into the console as we go through today as well. So let's go ahead and dive in, and let's set the table a little bit here by talking about disruption that's been happening in the AEC industry here in recent years. So if we look at this macro level shift we've seen over the last maybe 5 or 10 years in the AEC industry, in terms of the role that firms play and the ways that we're forced to go to market, historically in the industry we had a very traditional construction cycle where you did design and you took bids and you built structures and you handed them over and somebody operated them, and firms had a fairly defined and segmented role where they were either architects or engineers or GCs or facilities operators. But in recent years, we've seen a shift largely driven by owners and clients' desire to try to shift as much of the risk as possible to the service providers. And to do this, they've innovated into all sorts of variable contracting structures such as CM at risk, sometimes with a guaranteed max price, design build, DBMO, and so on. And this has really caused firms to then either come up with new teaming arrangements or become more vertically integrated so that they can own more of the value chain and provide a wider array of services, and has also resulted in more M&A activity where firms are building complementary capabilities through acquisition. So all of this has really impacted how firms go to market and sell new work and deliver services and engage with our clients. So this has been more of a macro level shift that's happened over the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years. More recently, we've seen a number of emerging technologies in the industry today that are really disrupting how firms engage with their clients as well, how they develop their their go-to-market strategy. But if you can harness these disruptive technologies properly, you can create a differentiated client experience and really redefine your competitive advantage. And we'll talk about a number of these things here today. This slide shows a few of these disruptive technologies, things like the Internet of Things, or IoT, which continues to mature and evolve in terms of how this technologies being utilized and how the data that we're capturing is being utilized. But again, this is where we're capturing data from sensors that are so small these days they can be pretty much placed anywhere, and using that data that we're capturing in creative ways to either create new service offerings and collect and analyze information, as well as be more intelligent in how we look at the design process. So this has changed the way that many firms engage with their clients. Data and analytics, this is somewhat related to the IoT discussion, which is, one of the ways that we capture all of this data. But, we constantly hear about big data and little data. In the end, it's all about using data and analytical technologies in many cases to create new service offerings and, again, be more intelligent about how we engage with our clients. We'll give some examples of that here today. Predictive intelligence, this is being used in many ways today. For example, being able to predict how structures or facilities may perform or age based on data about similar structures. But today we're actually going to talk to this in terms of how it can help you be more intelligent in the business development cycle when we're engaging clients and prospects and making sure we're focused on the right opportunities in order to try to win more work. Social for the enterprise. We've all seen social being used for years now in a personal or consumer setting with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but these technologies are now being applied to the business world as well, and we're seeing many marketing departments at firms that have dedicated resources monitoring social media sentiment about their firm or about the structures or projects that they've completed, who's tweeting about what or posting about what, and making a concerted effort to understand what people are saying about them and why, so that they can react accordingly. So really applying social concepts to the business world, and we're seeing more and more of that. Mixed reality. We've seen over the last couple of years just an explosion in the use of virtual reality technology like the Microsoft HoloLens, which puts you into a virtual reality design environment. We're seeing some really cool case studies coming through on this, which we'll talk about a little bit today as well. Web portals and collaboration. This technology has really matured to the point where it's being used pretty extensively now to collaborate and communicate both within our firm but also with clients and provide a new level of transparency around what's going on with our projects, again, which some firms are leveraging to create a differentiated experience for their clients. Information services, obviously over the years we've seen an emergence of digital information services that we can subscribe to, content aggregators, construction market intelligence, data services, just as a couple examples. We'll talk a little bit more about that today as well. And finally, next generation CRM solutions are really starting to impact client engagement. Most firms today have some sort of a platform for tracking client information and marketing pursuits, but we're really seeing these tools evolve into a next generation scenario where these tools are much smarter about how you track this information and capture it, how you use it proactively to win more business. So we're going to talk about that today as well. So these are some of the, again, digital disruptors that are becoming more and more prevalent in the AEC space and really impacting how we engage our clients. So really, if we look at the crux of today's sessions, how do we harness these disruptive technologies to try to change the game in terms of our client engagement model? So imagine if, for example, we could leverage these disruptive technologies to redefine how we engage with our clients in order to win more business, to build higher levels of customer loyalty and provide more responsive service. Or if we could leverage these technologies to develop new unique and differentiated service offerings and create new revenue streams and a differentiated experience as we work with our clients. That's really the essence of what we're talking about when we talk about leveraging technology to transform how we engage with our clients. So to to generate, excuse me, new and greater sources of revenue, what we're going to implore you to do as we go through today's session is start to really reimagine the customer experience along your value chain. So from the first time you engaged with a client as a prospective client through winning work and provisioning your services, and over the lifetime of what hopefully becomes a profitable long-term relationship, take a look at that value chain. And this is a little bit of an eye chart, but it starts to put this in perspective a little bit. It shows a sample client journey from one end of that value chain where a client first realizes they need new services to the other end of the chain where we've completed service delivery. And throughout that client journey, and all of the interactions that our firm and our people have with them, there are what we call these digital hotspots. These are areas where those interactions with the client are ripe for applying some of these emerging technologies that we reviewed to try to create a differentiated experience for our clients. It's through the identification of these digital hotspots where we can start to understand where our opportunities lie for transforming how we're going to engage with our clients in the future. So at the end of today's session, when we summarize what we've learned, think back to this slide and about your firm's value chain and how you engage with your clients throughout that value chain, and start to think about where your interactions are ripe for applying some of these disruptive technologies that we talk about here today. So if we look at our top 10 list here, so these are ways that forward-thinking firms are leveraging these technologies to transform their client engagement strategy. And this list isn't organized in any particular order in terms of importance, and certainly isn't all of the ways that you can redefine client engagement, but it does really give examples of 10 good ways that we think are transformative in terms of how firms are engaging with their clients. As you can see on the left here, redefining your client engagement model is one of several ways that more forward-thinking firms are trying to drive this digital transformation across their business. So again, harnessing these digital disruptors to reimagine not only how we engage with our clients, but how we empower employees to do more, how we optimize our operations to drive efficiencies and reduce costs, and how we transform our service offerings. So I'm not actually going to read through each of these individually on this slide here, because we're going to go into each of these in detail as we go through today's presentation. We'll come back and take a look at a summary of this list at the end here today as well. But let's go ahead and jump into each of these a little bit deeper here, again in no particular order. So the first way that leading firms are transforming client engagement is, again, utilizing these disruptive technologies to redefine the firm's differentiation strategies so that we can win more business. So a question we often ask clients and firms is, how or why do you win most of the pursuits that you win? Is it based on, a strong relationship that you have with your clients? Is it based on the fact that you have more experience than the competition? Is it that you offer broader or more unique service offerings that other firms don't, or that you simply execute better throughout the marketing and proposal process, or maybe you offer a differentiated client experience? So it's important to understand how and why you're winning business and be able to replicate that in order to win more often. But beyond that, these emerging technologies that we reviewed also allow you to start to redefine or transform how you're going to market and engage with your clients going forward. And you can see here that examples of what leading firms are doing is leveraging these technologies to differentiate the client engagement experience, or maybe offer new service offerings that other firms aren't. Minimally, these firms are being much more proactive in analyzing, why they're winning and losing, and how they stack up against the competition. And in a lot of ways, these firms are now deploying these more next-generation CRM platforms to help them be more efficient in the business development cycle and execute better in terms of marketing and proposals. So when we talk about examples of creating a differentiated engagement strategy, this is a really cool story about a firm that's actively using virtual reality design as a competitive differentiator. We saw some results there in our poll about firms that are doing that. It doesn't look like it's being used extensively quite yet, but again, we're seeing an explosion in the use of this technology in general. So this story is about Alaska Airlines, who was looking to build a new hangar in Anchorage for airplane maintenance, and they solicited a number of bids for the project. One of the firms that bid on this work actually used the HoloLens to create a virtual reality design of the new hangar, and when they went to present their bid to Alaska Airlines, they actually had the people on the client team put on a HoloLens device, and they actually could walk them through and experience the design of the hangar in a virtual reality setting. They were the only bidder to do that. They created a differentiated experience for the client that the other firms did not, and they won the business, which was a significant contract. You can see here it was about $40 million. So that's a direct example of how firms are using these disruptive technologies to change the game in terms of how they engage with clients and create a differentiating strategy and win more business. So that's one example of how forward-thinking firms are changing client engagement. A second way that they're redefining client engagement is by leveraging IoT and advanced analytics to create new services and new revenue streams. And again, we saw the answers in the poll that looked like this was one of the lesser voted for options here, that firms are actively doing this. But again, IoT and advanced analytics provide the opportunity to not only enhance how we deliver our current offerings and differentiate those, but also to create net new data-driven services like data collection and monitoring and analytics services, which for most firms are net new revenue streams, which in many cases can be subscription-based or recurring revenue streams, so they serve as an annuity. So if we look at some of the ways that smart technology-driven firms are using this data that's being collected to differentiate their services, we see examples like monitoring sensor data for structural integrity, taking readings from a bridge or a building and comparing those to other structures and their outcomes to predict how this particular structure may perform, or to proactively suggest maintenance, or at least minimally to use that information to be more intelligent in how we're designing these structures. Using RFID for tracking materials and tools and equipment that's being used in the field or on a job site to better execute our projects. Field data collection, moving from paper-based forms and data collection to digital field data collection, which once we're then capturing it digitally makes it available for analytics. It's really hard to perform analytics on data that sits on paper. So and then finally, using this data to predict risks and safety on the job site. So we'll talk about that one here a little bit more in just a minute. But these are examples of how this technology is being used. And if we look at another specific example, this shows how a firm is providing monitoring services. This is an example of a dashboard for monitoring traffic on the State Road 520 bridge, where these sensors are collecting data points like the volume of cars at different times of the day, average speed, types of cars, and so on, in order to better plan maintenance and inspections and help with future design of similar structures. So this type of monitoring and analytics service is something that's often sellable as a recurring subscription service as well. And the financial impact of this can be significant, because if we can monetize these services or revenue streams, it's going to be very beneficial. In a lot of cases, a firm's revenue month to month can be a little bit lumpy depending on how many billable days there are in a month, or holidays that are coming up, or whether or not milestones are being completed, or what have you. And being able to create these recurring monthly subscription revenue sources can really help create more of that predictable revenue stream that can help smooth out our month-to-month financial performance. So there's some financial benefit to doing this as well. So talking about creating a differentiated experience with clients, here's another example of a firm that's using these technologies to their advantage. So Skanska USA is a large construction and development company that's focused both on infrastructure and building projects, and many of their clients require specific environmental safeguards on job sites, such as the containment of noise levels, or seismic disruptions, or airborne particulates. So Skanska needed a way to be able to collect this data from the field and on the job site and be able to actually build some actionable intelligence out of it to respond in real time. So they developed a next generation monitoring solution using sensors and analytics to be able to measure vibrations and differential pressure and count air particles and log all this data in the cloud, and then based on some logic they send notifications to mobile devices to alert people out in the field to these important environmental changes that are being reported by the sensors. So what this has done is helped Skanska redefine the client experience by providing clients with a new and very unique level of transparency about what's happening in their project environments. It's also helped them mitigate risk and improve compliance because much of this has to be audited and reportable, which has helped them, again, save time and cost on their projects. But again, more importantly, nobody else in their direct domain from a competition standpoint is doing this. So they are providing a differentiated offering to their client, a differentiated experience, and again, it's helping them win more business. A third way that firms can transform their client engagement strategy is by using next-generation CRM solutions to better collaborate and improve marketing and business development and execution to be able to capture and win more business. So to be able to really maximize our bid-to-win ratio, we have to have a 360-degree view of everything that's happening when we're pursuing new business and be able to easily share this information and collaborate not just with our internal pursuit team, but outside of the organization on these pursuits with our clients or prospective clients as well. So let's actually jump into an example of how a CRM system with these collaborative tools embedded can actually work. So we're going to actually jump into a tool here, which happens to be the Microsoft version of Dynamics 365, which is a version specifically developed for AEC firms. And we're going to jump here into a opportunity that we're tracking just to be able to show the nature of some of these collaborative aspects of today's CRM. So if we were to go down to a project here that or an opportunity we're focused on here for Georgia State University for their new library, here we can see a number of collaborative components. The first one here I want to highlight is this middle activity wall where we're tracking basically a centralized view of any posts. So this is any record or transaction or changes to records in the system that anybody working on this pursuit has visibility to. So here I can see somebody change the probability on a deal. I can see somebody added a couple new competitors to this pursuit to be able to track. So every change that anybody's making related to this pursuit gets logged in a centralized place. Any activity that anybody is having related to the pursuit or the people at the client that are related to this pursuit, I can track any phone calls, any meetings, tasks that have been completed, any notes and documents that are related to this pursuit. So again, we have this centralized place where everybody within the organization can contribute to and also see what's happening with this pursuit in a very collaborative fashion. The second collaborative piece I wanted to show is an embedded Office 365 group that's been set up for this pursuit for collaboration purposes. So right embedded in my CRM system, if I drop this down and go to my Office 365 group, what you're going to see here is that it can pull together a number of Office 365 tools to provide a fully functioning collaboration environment here. So we can see right in our CRM system for anybody related to this pursuit, I can see calendar entries, I can see threaded discussions, you can post Yammer conversations there, you can have a shared OneNote notebook for tracking information, any documents that are related to this pursuit we have right here. And these are actually pieces of functionality from the Microsoft Office 365 suite where this pursuit team has created a group and now has its own email inbox that everything can go to, its own calendar, its own SharePoint library for tracking documents about the pursuit, again, a shared OneNote notebook using the Planner tool, which is also part of Office 365 to manage tasks related to this pursuit. So we've taken all of these Office 365 collaboration tools and we've embedded them right into a CRM environment. So as people are working on these pursuits, they have access to all this collaborative this collaborative tool set. And the nice part about these collaboration tools is they're not only easy to provision, but it's also very easy to invite external parties like teaming partners and subs and our clients into the collaboration site. So it's a great collaboration platform to, again, really not just redefine how we execute from a business development standpoint when we're working with clients, but also redefine how we're giving our prospective clients and clients an experience of working with us throughout that cycle here. So that's an example of how these next generation collaborative CRM systems can add value there. And here's an example of a company that recently just went down this journey here. This is JMT, which is a large engineering firm, has about 25 offices or so in the U.S. here, and they were looking to improve their visibility of their client interactions and project history, all that data that we build up about our projects and our experience to be more efficient in their proposal processes and provide better information to key stakeholders throughout the firm about what was happening within their clients. And they happened to do this using the tools that we just showed, which were the Microsoft version of Dynamics 365 CRM and Office 365 as the collaboration tools, which we just saw. So, again, just a real world example of how firms are transforming their client engagement experience using collaborative tools. A fourth way that firms can transform their client engagement effectiveness and really personalize their relationships and their services is by ensuring that they're capturing every client interaction that's happening throughout the business, whether it be when we're pursuing work or delivering services or just a casual conversation we're having with somebody at a client, because we're going to do some very important things with this information a little bit later on in today's session. So the key point being here, if we're going to be effective in pursuing and winning new business and serving our clients in a differentiated way, we have to understand what relationships and what connections we have with our clients and our prospective clients and really build a complete 360-degree view of who's talking to who knows who. So capturing and sharing all relevant emails, meetings, tasks, and documents is essential to doing that. Now, there's a barrier to this. If there's one thing we know, it's that most seller doers have no interest in keying in information into a CRM system to track all of that. So the nice part is they don't have to do that anymore because this technology has really evolved. So this slide shows some screenshots of a mobile device that can allow us anytime, anywhere to basically capture all of our interactions we're having with our prospects and clients without having to enter data. So here we can see access to contacts and activities and pursuits right from my phone, anywhere that I am. And when I do things like call somebody from my mobile device, it'll actually log that call automatically in the CRM system so that I don't have to go enter in that I called somebody, because odds are that's not going to happen in most cases. Or when I record an activity or a meeting, I can use voice to text and record that information and have it automatically log that activity in my CRM system. I don't have to go in and enter that data. So technology has evolved in ways that we can capture that. Similarly, when I send and receive emails or create calendar appointments or tasks in Outlook, they can automatically be associated with contacts or clients or pursuits in my CRM system to easily capture who's communicating and interacting with who without any effort involved. So, for example, if I were to open up my Outlook here and take a look at this email that came in. This is an email from a prospective client that wants to invite us to bid on their new headquarters building. And you can see here that when this email came in, it automatically associated itself to this account and contact based on recognizing the email address that it came into. So it automatically is logging this email to that particular set of records in the CRM system. And right from here within the email, I can go and do things like set up tasks or appointments or phone calls to follow up with this person. I can see the next activity that's set up in the CRM system right here within my Outlook email. Very similarly, if I were to look at a calendar appointment, which is a call that's set up for later today to talk to this company about this particular opportunity, again, when I set up this meeting and invited this individual, it automatically logged that to the right records in the CRM system. So I don't have to do anything. Once I associate that this is a client that I want to track this stuff for, I don't have to go and do anything specific to start logging all of these interactions. So it happens automatically without having to do anything. So we can start to capture all of this intelligence about our relationships and our connections and all of our interactions with our clients without really having to ask people to go in and manually key all this information in. So that's how this technology is evolving to help us capture all of those client interactions. A fifth way that leading firms are redefining client engagement, and this one gets back to basics a little bit but is extremely important, is making sure that we have a consolidated, centralized database of all of our project experience, our qualifications, our employee experience, and resumes that we can use to better respond to RFIs and put better proposals together that really highlight our strengths and our experience. And this seems pretty rudimentary, but it's surprising how many firms we talk to today that still don't really have this centralized database that's easily accessible, that's being consistently updated. And one of the reasons is sometimes it's hard to do that. So one of the keys is to keep it updated by having it automatically populated as you're executing projects. So as people are working on project, it's automatically going to build that they worked on this project in this role and put this many hours against it, and here's a description of what they did. So we can automatically build a lot of that intelligence now, and this is just going to help us, again, be more effective in how we engage with prospects and market our services and put proposals together. So let's go ahead and again, jump in and take just a look at how some of today's more modern tools can help us do that, and we'll jump back into our CRM system here, and we'll go ahead and start off by looking at employee experience. So again, being able to build this database of employee experience is critical to the proposal process. So we're going to come in and we're going to search for an employee of ours named Ron Owens. So we'll go ahead and search for Ron here. We can see he's one of our project managers, and when we bring this up, we're going to see everything we might ever need to know about Ron within the proposal process. So I can see on the left-hand side here, I have basic information about Ron. I have his bio, which I can paste into a proposal. In the middle, I can see all of the projects he's worked on. I can see his education. I can see his registrations, any qualifications he has, so any awards he's won, certifications he's gained, training he's taken. I can see all of that, right here in the system, which is in most cases pretty easily updated. I can see his experience, and then I can see on the right-hand side here an example of a resume. And if I were to go ahead and open this up, these resumes can be automatically generated dynamically by going through and picking and choosing which of the projects and which experience I want to highlight, and then be able to build that in either a Word document or a PDF or InDesign document so that I can very easily match it up to the experience that we're hoping to highlight. So that's an example of being able to really track everything we might ever need to know about our people. Similarly, if we were to look at similar tracking on projects, and we go into our list of projects here, and we'll see a project here for Georgia State for their student housing. We have a similar concept in terms of all of the information and history we're capturing about our project. So just like with the employee resume, we can dynamically generate this into cut sheets or project profiles or proposals and other dynamics. So again, for this particular project, I can see everything I would ever want to know. Again, populating this automatically, in many cases coming from your project management or a finance system where a lot of this is captured. But we can see as we scroll down everything we'd want to know about the contract structure, key dates, facility or structural attributes down the left-hand side. Again, in the middle, we can see a definition of the scope of this project that we can paste into a proposal, key deliverables, any activities that took place within that, who worked on it, what other companies were involved, so who is the owner, who is the GC, and so on, financial information about this project. I have all of this history here. Now, some of this honestly needs to be maintained by the marketing team, but in many ways we can try to automate the population of this information. And again, just like the employee experience side of things, we can go and create these profile documents and go and dynamically select which projects I want to highlight what I want to highlight about them, and automatically, again, generate those into a Word document, a PDF, or an InDesign document. So again, getting back to basics, but again, very, very important that we're putting ourselves in the best possible position by really tracking that centralized database of all of our project experience and qualifications and employee experience as well. A sixth way that leading firms are redefining how they engage clients is by making sure they're consistently focusing on the right projects and the right clients, and that their deal execution is as solid as it can be. So if you're spinning your wheels, chasing the wrong pursuits, or you're not confident that your firm has the right skills or qualifications or experience to win the work, there's a good chance that your time's not being invested very wisely. So it's very important that firms evaluate their pursuits on a number of dimensions, such as if you're properly qualified, do you have the right relationships in place, is the cost of pursuit something you can justify, is the project likely to deliver a sufficient level of profit, what potential risks exist in the form of a risk analysis, and the way that many firms today are doing this is through a defined, system-driven, workflow-enabled pursuit process with checkpoints and a formal go, no-go process that gets embodied into their CRM platform, where they're working on these opportunities to provide the right levels of controls and visibility. So again, let's take a real-world look of how this might manifest itself in a CRM system. And if we go back in here and let's go ahead and find an opportunity to take a look at. Again, this is a pursuit that we're in full pursuit mode here for, let's take a look at this Mohawk Oil and Gas one. So again, this pursuit down the left-hand side, we can see information about the potential opportunity in terms of the contract structure, some financial forecast information, planned and actual cost of the pursuit, as you can see here, key dates related to the selection and the project, the status of the proposal, and so on. In the middle of the screen here, we've got some narrative around the scope of the opportunity. We're tracking, again, all of the changes to records here, all of the activities that people are completing. So again, any conversations, meetings, emails that are happening related to this. And then down the right-hand side, we can see key project stakeholders. So again, who else is involved from a owner GC standpoint, who's the competition, who's our internal team that's working on this pursuit. So everything we'd need to know to track this pursuit and try to win it. And really the key to all of this as we look at the pursuit process is this notion of a sales process across the top here. And this is where we're embodying all of the different stages and steps and checkpoints and other activities for the pursuit that we can use to evaluate, is this the right place for us to be investing our time and money? Do we have a viable chance of winning this business? So we can have an unlimited number of these sales processes. I'm just going to go ahead and switch one here to one that's more specific to oil and gas proposals, and you're going to see that list of green chevrons across the top has changed. So in this flavor of a pursuit, maybe it's important to our firm that we also do some very specific type of qualification. So as I click on this qualification chevron, have I done a financial analysis? Have I got the right permits and licensing for this type of project? Do we have the right insurance coverage? Have we done a competitive analysis yet? Have we done a risk analysis to try to understand, does this project pose too much risk to the business? Is it something we can execute on successfully? So again, all leading up to a go, no-go workflow and decision and the ability to move this pursuit through the rest of the process here. So this is something more and more firms are doing to try to make sure that they're pursuing the right work. Now, I mentioned something in terms of a risk analysis. This is something we're seeing more and more firms do during the pursuit process. So I just wanted to touch on this really quickly here. If we drop down and look at any risk evaluations that have been created for this particular pursuit that we're going after, you can see one here where we've created a risk evaluation template along with a detailed risk assessment for this project. So across the top, we've got some summary information about the risk evaluation, and as we scroll down, we see all of these these different risk factors that we've highlighted here. So profitability of the deal or project, schedule, efficiency analysis. So is there a payback or ROI for the client? Do we have the right win strategy? Who's our competition? What team do we have put together? What type of relationship do we have with our clients? Again, all of these things are areas that you can define to help you do these risk evaluations. So these are examples of tools that not only make sure you're pursuing the right work, but that you're executing your sales processes in an efficient manner here. So as we go back to our presentation yet again here, just again a quick real-world example of a firm that did exactly this. So HKS is a multinational architectural design firm. They have offices all over the world, and we're looking to transform how they engage with their clients by improving the effectiveness of their marketing pursuits. So better evaluating potential deals in terms of risk and profitability, and improving collaboration across their pursuit teams by having a centralized shared repository of all their documents and interactions that they can work from. So HKS leveraged these same tools that we've been looking at here, and even distributed Microsoft Surface devices out to their team, so they had all of this information available on the go, and they were able to bring together pursuit teams in a new way and really redefine the client engagement model. So really ensuring that they were pursuing more viable opportunities, improving access to information, and improving the strength of the relationships they have with their clients. So again, just a real-world example there. A seventh way that forward-thinking firms are redefining client engagement is by trying to use predictive insights to improve their odds at winning pursuits. So predictive insights can connect the dots of who have we worked with, what have we done with them, who knows who, and apply statistical algorithms to score leads and opportunities and highlight what deals are we well positioned to win based on our relationships and connections, and which deals might be at risk because we're not generating the right types of activity with these prospective clients. So having this intelligence at your fingertips gives you the ability to really optimize your investment decisions and triage deals that you might be in jeopardy of losing, and overall win a higher percentage of your pursuit. So if you remember back earlier, I mentioned that we'd come back to why it's so important to capture those client interactions, all of those emails and meetings and tasks. You'll start to see why here, because we're going to start to leverage that information in a much more proactive manner to try to provide some insights and intelligence around our ability to win a deal. So let's jump in again here real quickly and take a look at how this might materialize. And we can do this on a number of different types of records. So we're going to start with a contact at one of our clients here, and then we'll step through how we do this on an opportunity as well, just to give you some ideas of how you might be able to deploy something like this. So we're going to look at a contact here, Ryan Wilson. And when we open this up, we're going to see all of the normal information we'd expect to see about Ryan. So personal information, all of our interactions about him, where else he's worked, what other leads he's involved in, what opportunities we're chasing that he's a part of, what projects have we delivered that he's involved in, and so on. But up at the top here, we see this relationships box here. And what this is doing is highlighting that we have 4 people that have relationships with Ryan in our firm. And we know that based on the data and the things that are happening in Outlook. So we can see that Ryan knows Dave, Gary, Steve, and Whit within our organization. But you can also see a strength indicator here. And this is measuring how strong these relationships to Ryan are based on strength matrix that you get to define. Maybe every email you send, you get a point. Every meeting you have with Ryan, you get 10 points. Every opportunity that I've worked with Ryan, I get 25 points. And so on. And this is going to identify who within our firm is best connected to different contacts. And in this case, we can see Dave has the highest strength indicator with Ryan. And so we might want to put him front and center of this pursuit, or at least have an understanding of where to go to help understand the dynamics of how we might best win this opportunity. So you can do that relationship scoring, again, based on these strength indicators. And you can do the same on leads and opportunities as well, using these types of insights. So if we go to this opportunity that Ryan's involved with at the Mohawk Oil and Gas Development here, On the right-hand side, you see a strength indicator, and again, this is using a statistical algorithm where we're looking at things like what other parties are involved in this pursuit. So who's the owner, who's the architect, who's the GC, and so on. And so, for example, here, if we see the owner, which is Anadarko Petroleum, I can see a little 2 after that. If I click on that, what that shows me is that we've done 2 projects with that particular owner before. And Ryan is the main contact at the owner. Here's the 4 people that know Ryan. The general contractor is New South Construction. You can see a 5. These are 5 projects we've done with that GC before. And Huntley is the main contact, and he knows Cole within our organization. So we're capturing all of this information in the background, looking at companies and contacts and other data in the system, and building strength indicators based on an algorithm that you can define. So here you can see our opportunity strength here is 75%. This helps us gain insights into which pursuits we're well positioned in, which ones we're more at risk to lose. And so again, this is something that more forward-thinking firms are starting to use to build that intelligence and improve how they're pursuing new work in order to improve their win ratios. So going back to our list here, an 8th way leading firms are transforming client engagement is by leveraging these social technologies for the enterprise. So we talked briefly earlier about how the business world is now starting to leverage some social networks and tools and concepts that we've seen in the personal or consumer world like Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and other social networks, and apply them to the business setting. And social listening is a key part of that. This actually automates the capture of data that's flowing across these social media properties, and it's growing in popularity because it happens automated based on some keywords. So where some of the more cutting-edge firms are now dedicating resources that are focused on monitoring social media and finding out what people are saying about the firm or the projects they've worked on. Is it positive or negative? How do we need to react as an organization? And we can do some pretty cool things like automatically create leads in a CRM system when these social monitoring tools hear keywords. So for example, if somebody tweets that they've acquired some new land for a new building, the social listening tools can automatically capture that based on those keywords and automatically create a lead in the CRM system and route that through for somebody to try to better qualify and look into. So these are the types of things that leading firms are doing today to really understand market sentiment, highlight potential customer satisfaction issues, and just improve insight around their clients and their organizations so that they can better target their offerings and better serve their clients. A 9th way that organizations are transforming client engagement is by using client portals to make information more readily available to their clients throughout all stages of the project lifecycle, because this can introduce a new level of transparency to their relationships, again, creating a differentiated experience for our clients. So recognize certainly some firms have been providing access to drawings and other documents for a while now, but we're starting to see more and more firms providing access to information about project progress. So where are we in terms of deliverables, meeting timelines, meeting the project budget, and so on, all available through a customer portal, providing access to subcontractor details, to invoices that are outstanding and other types of information. So making this available real-time in a self-service manner, we can really, again, increase transparency levels with our clients, forge closer relationships, and really differentiate how we engage with our clients and be different from the competition, which hopefully, again, helps us win more business and keep more customers. And last but not least, the 10th way that firms are transforming client engagement strategies today is through the use of these digital information services. So this applies not just to some of the construction market data providers that are providing databases of new construction projects, but also professional networks like LinkedIn, social channels like Twitter, for example, content aggregators like Inside View that track news releases and press coverage and other content, pull it all together for you. This is really important because there's a lot that's not only going on out in the market, but there's a lot of changes that happen within our clients as well. They may have a key executive leave or new one get promoted where we need to get introduced to the new person or their successor maybe. They may open up a new office that we may want to look for new business around or minimally congratulate them on. They may do an acquisition. So the better we can stay on top of these developments, the better chance we have to forge relationships with the right people, to stay out in front of new business opportunities, and just stay close to our clients. So when we can start to then marry this data from these information services with the data that you're tracking about your clients inside of your CRM platform, it becomes even a little bit more powerful. So let's just take a quick look again at how these information sources can flow into your CRM platform. One last little demonstration here. And one of the ways that this can happen is by, again, taking those project leads from the construction market data lists and databases like CMD or Dodge data, so that we can actually have those, pumping into our CRM system, automatically creating leads so that we can get early visibility of these, try to qualify them, try to get out in front of our competition, and make sure that those potential projects aren't slipping through the cracks. So that's one good way of leveraging these information sources in an automated fashion. Another way, if we look at how we might leverage something like an inside view, a content aggregator. Again, if we look at one of our clients here, so Anadarko Petroleum, again, we see a 360-degree view of our client. But as we scroll down here, you'll see that right embedded within the CRM system is inside view. So right here I'm seeing a summary of some recent news announcements about our client Anadarko, but if I click view more here, it's going to take me into a number of things. First off, I get a much more detailed view of any press releases, articles, or other announcements about this client. If they're publicly traded and there's research available, I can see this and understand what's happening with them in terms of financial performance and so on. I can see contacts that are in the database of Inside View based on information they've collected. So there's 10 contacts Inside View is aware of, and you can see only 3 of those at this client do we have set up in our CRM system based on these check marks. So I can actually go in and very easily then add these other people into my contact database for this particular client. I also get a family tree, so I can see what other organizations are part of this same organization or ownership structure, because we may want to start to get to know them and be able to better try to exploit particular opportunities there. So we've married these information services. This is one example. LinkedIn's another example where that information can just flow right in. So we now have better information about our clients. We have better insight into what's going on with them, and we've embedded it in a place that we can actually be proactive and do something about it. So let's go ahead and summarize what we've covered. Again, we took a look at 10 examples of ways that leading, forward-thinking, technology-driven firms are adopting these disruptive technologies to help us redefine, how we engage with our clients. And we really implore, all organizations to be constantly evaluating how you can do the same. And again, if we go back to that slide we saw earlier in the presentation that showed that client journey along our value chain and all of the digital hotspots that exist, which are ripe for trying to apply these technologies, those are the things we need to be looking at. Because if we can, as a firm, find ways to harness those tools before our competition does, we'll be on our way to building a much more differentiated client experience, to winning more business, and hopefully building profitable, long-lasting relationships with our clients. So just to summarize that, hopefully that resonated with everybody.